Hi, Peter Charles here, Hooked Fly Fly Fishing. And I've mentioned in other videos that I've scaled back my outdoor instruction. I'm not doing the type of instruction I've done in the past for casting. In other years I've worked with upwards of 100 clients per year. Now I'm dialing that back to a handful. And I thought, it'd be a good opportunity to shift away from, individual instruction that I've done in the past to putting this information on video. So I'm going to start a series of videos on casting and how to improve our casting and some simple things we can do to make life easier for ourselves. The first one I did was on the idea of go get some instruction. This one I'm going to deal with spey casting. I'm going to be talking about two issues. The first issue is stay consistent with your equipment. Don't continually change rods, change lines, mix things around when you're trying to learn how to spey cast. Don't make your life difficult by constantly changing things. Now you might have 5 rods and 10 or 15 lines and you like to use them all, and that's cool. But the reality is you'll only get better, you'll only improve if you stick with one rod and one line. Get to know it really well. And once you've improved with that one rod and that one line, then you can bring in a second one or a third one. But don't, take different rods out and different lines out from one week to the next. You'll never get the level of consistency down with your casts if you're trying to learn and you're trying to figure out equipment at the same time. And especially if you're moving lines around the rods, that gets even worse. So, even somebody like myself who's been casting for years, I notice that if I go out consecutive weeks with the same setup, little things get better. I suddenly, on my left hand, especially my left side all of a sudden is going like a rocket, And I'm going, okay, maybe I should just fish this rod and this line all the time. You can save yourself a lot of grief, even if you're experienced, by, not constantly changing your stuff around. The second thing I'm going to talk about is the cast we use. Again, we've got this tendency we want to get as many casts as we want to master. We want to learn how to do the snake roll, the downstream parry poke, and blah, 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 blah. You can drive yourself nuts trying to learn casts. The reality is we need to have 2 casts, and we need to be able to do them on both the left side and the right side of our body. And it's funny how our non-dominant side is the side we tend to neglect because we don't want to tackle it. It's a little difficult. But the reality is all you need is 2 casts and be able to cast both of them on both sides of your body. And what we need to be able to do is either set our anchor upstream of us with an upstream wind, or downstream of us when there's a downstream wind. We've always got to put our anchor downwind of us. So we need a cast that enables us to put one anchor upstream and the other anchor downstream. So typically, for example, that could be the circle spey and the double spey. You learn those 2 casts, you're able to have an upstream anchor and a downstream anchor, and you learn it on the left side and the right side of your body. Now you can cast it on either bank, in either wind. And the same thing could be a snake roll and single spey. Whichever you want to go, I don't care. Whether you want to learn those 2 or the double spey and the circle spey, doesn't matter. The idea is you have 2 casts, upstream anchor, downstream anchor, learn them on both sides of your body. Don't try to add any more to the arsenal because you don't need any more than that. You could spend the rest of your spey casting life with those 2 casts. And that's it. Now, if you want to add more down the road, that's fine. I mean, we get into situational casting where, if you know how to do one cast, you can cast it better in this situation than another. That's cool. But not when you're trying to learn. Not when you're trying to develop your skills. So, recap. Stick with same rod and line. Learn 2 casts. Stick with those 2 casts. You work on that. You will make significant improvement to your spey casting over a relatively short period of time. You start trying to add new casts to your repertoire and changing your rods and your lines around, you're going to be constantly churning and not making any progress. And you're not going to improve. In fact, you could even go backwards and get frustrated. A lot of times when you're seeing gear on eBay for people getting rid of stuff, I wonder how much of that is simply they just haven't put the time in to really master it and to get comfortable with it. And so they've just, it's no good, and they'll sell it. And the reality is, if you just stick with one line, one rod, 2 casts, you can make a hell of a lot of good progress over the years. So give that some thought before you pick up another rod and another line. Cheers.